The Township of Uxbridge wants your feedback for downtown revitalization. Courtney McClure for The Standard. Uxbridge. The Township of Uxbridge is encouraging residents to complete a survey, sharing their thoughts on downtown Uxbridge's future. The information a person chooses to share in the survey may become a part of the Uxbridge Downtown Revitalization Project. The survey was created to collect feedback to see what Uxbridge residents expect from the project. The same information will be extended to local property owners, businesses, and downtown shoppers later this summer. If you live in downtown Uxbridge or the Township of Uxbridge, please visit the Township's website and complete the survey. You can find the survey at https://www.uxbridge.ca/downtown-project.as/project.aspx. There are also paper copies of the survey available upon request. You can pick up a paper copy of the survey from the Uxbridge Public Library or Town Hall. Completed paper copies of the survey can be returned by mail or dropped off at the library, or at the Township Red Barn drop box at the front of the Town Hall. I am a long-term resident of Uxbridge with an interest in the future of the downtown, said Judy Risebrough, Township's project manager. As of Thursday, June 10, 2021, over 300 Uxbridge residents have completed the survey, which is open until August 2021. According to Judy Risebrough, the project will deliver a downtown strategic plan and action plan by early next year. The plans will be made available for Uxbridge Council and staff, as they are the ones making the decisions for the future of Uxbridge. The project was created in collaboration between the Township of Uxbridge, the Ontario Government, Durham Region, and the Uxbridge BIA. To learn more about the Uxbridge Downtown Revitalization Project, check out the Township of Uxbridge's website. Visit www.uxbridge.ca/myuxbridgedowntown. Brock to consider funding request for CT scanner campaign. Dan Kearns, Local Journalism Initiative reporter for The Standard. Brock. The Port Perry Hospital Foundation hopes Brock Township will support their Here For You campaign. At a meeting on Monday, June 14th, the Hospital Foundation CAO, Rachel Agnaluzzi, and board member Don Gordon appeared before council to inform them about the campaign and to ask for a funding commitment from the township. The campaign has a goal of raising $4 million to bring a CT scanner and other equipment to the Port Perry Hospital. Mr. Gordon informed the councillors Lakeridge Health Port Perry Hospital was utilized by 1,340 residents of Brock Township in 2019. It means just over 11% of Brock residents were patients at Port Perry Hospital in 2019, he explained. Mr. Gordon noted the current situation of sending patients to other hospitals for CT scans is not ideal. It does not meet the standard of care the North Durham community needs and deserves, he stated. Ms. Agnaluzzi explained why the campaign includes fundraising for equipment other than the CT scanner. It's that balance between this new technology being right at our fingertips and not losing other technologies which are so important to healthcare. The foundation hopes to bring the scanner to the Port Perry Hospital before the end of 2022. Ward 2 Councillor Claire Doble questioned what the timeline would be for the installation of the CT scanner. There's quite a process of both determining the right machine at the same time as the licensing is happening at the Ministry of Health, Ms. Agnaluzzi responded. Ideally, it would be by early fall of next year, but it could be as late as December of 2022. Council later voted to refer the request to the Township's 2022 municipal budget process. Earlier this month, Scugog Township pledged $200,000 over 4 years towards the campaign.
Some things need perspective. Are you a cup half full or half empty person? When I was young, I was a cup half full person. When I got older, I slowly became a cup half empty person. But after I became a Christian, I became a cup completely empty and completely full person. Let me explain. It's based on relativity. You know Einstein's theory? Relativity is the thinking of a comparative relationship between things. A benchmark is to be chosen to compare all things to, a 0 point from which all other things are measured. The problem with this is, in the physical world, all things move or change, including the speed at which light travels, against which we compare the passage of time and massive distances, so space. Well, if the speed of light was thought to be a constant, but since it was able to be measured, it has now been found to be gradually, minutely slowing. So all of our measurements become theoretical again, instead of based on an established truth. Then what does this do for the average person's confidence in science? I guess that depends on whether they've really navigated their everyday life by foundational science. Most who claim they believe in science rarely refer to science in their daily routine, or even consider it at all in the mix. Accordingly, they've just used so-called scientific truth as an ideological weapon to deflect others' perceptions of reality. It is a religious agreement they fall back on when challenged to think of what is real. Yet the irony is, all of this is based on relationship. Hence, relativity, the part they disregard. That's the problem with habit. It can blind one from truly being scientific, from observing when things have changed. Not unlike the problems many experience in personal relationships. People can bury their heads in the sand, anything to avoid acknowledging things have changed. This can mean people have changed, circumstances have changed, or our awareness and understanding has changed. So, if we want to be honest, our responses to things need to change. But to be honest, we'd much rather stick with the status quo. It's really a kind of laziness we then defend. Interestingly, we spend way more energy defending how things have been accepted than acknowledging and adjusting to what is now known. Ah, denial, the old invested gamble. One more day, one more step in a direction, leading people into darkened tunnels rigged to collapse because of short-range thinking. Short-range thinking, when everyone in the world thought the earth was flat, certainly a result of short-term, two-dimensional processes. This was during the time of both Christopher Columbus and Martin Luther, contemporaries who challenged the status quo and changed the world. Going along with the majority had controlled people's relationship to reality, even though reality itself had not actually changed. In the past, the church has fallen into this pattern as well. They thought and taught the sun revolved around the earth. When Galileo challenged the assumption, the then-known science world radically resisted for their reasons. The religious man-made versions of the church, with its paid indulgences, rites of passage, and power to excommunicate, fought back for their own reasons. They were protecting their own investments and personal gain, to their chagrin at the attempted expense of truth, and for a time, this was an incredible expense. Reasoning can be sound in our brain patterns, but information can be wrong, and so we can get trapped in whatever we've been taught and never think to give it a second thought or look. To be truly free, we must be able to re-examine the past through to our own immediate present and be able to extrapolate the implications on our decisions for the future. So where's the good news in all this? The same quality can stabilize us and help us not to give up something real, like relationships. Recently, in Palmer Park in Port Perry, our son, James Joseph Green, as part of the crew assembled to record the goings-on of the Port Perry 150 celebration, heard many words come forth about unity, growth, and good relationships between peoples of this area, not the least of which was from Chief Kelly LaRocca, chief of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, of the Anishinaabe. Aaron O'Toole, leader of the Conservative Party and official opposition in the federal parliament, and Lindsay Park, Conservative MPP for Durham Region and Parliamentary Assistant for the Attorney General, Ontario. Many affirmations and genuine expressions were shared about how peoples of all groups have collaborated and moved everyone's larger group agendas forward. While there is always more good we can do, we must remain cognizant of the perspectives of the past and build in wise directions forward, never betraying the good hearts of our foreparents. It's using a benchmark, or a relative, pun intended, relative, point from which to compare. This is how society remains stable and grows smoothly, including true Indigenous society. This reminds me of part of the Great Peace, or the Great Binding Law approach, a Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois Confederation, Aboriginal perspective, used to evaluate decision-making. It's not unlike what many Indigenous cultures carry in their considerations of things. You see, they still value what's gone before. The basic tenet is this: we must always think of the effect of our decisions on at least 7 future generations. But, as an extension of this thinking, we must consider the choices of our ancestors to at least 7 generations before. Tell me where this connection ends. If those 4 generations earlier were considering 7 generations before them and valuing 7 generations after them, then we, today, are intrinsically tied to the considerate decisions of even further generations of our people. This sounds like the good values of many cultures around the world. Our people, our history, and the integrity of life matters. Notice the word integrity comes from the same root as the word integrate, to be interrelated. It seems the Indigenous people had a more practical version of relativity before it was ever revealed to Einstein. If there is no stable thing to measure against our perception of reality, all of life becomes up for grabs. The combination of denial and despair presents the idea we can do whatever we want, because there is no reality and so really no consequences. The lazy, short-range view easily jumps at this choice, the reason why divorce is so rampant in our world today. If that's not the fruit of a bad investment pattern, I don't know how to show you. What we need is a point of reference which won't change, yet remains relational, respectful, and nurturing. This is God, not religious behavior. In Malachi 3:6, it says, "I am the Lord, and I do not change." That's Good News Bible. So, because God cannot be influenced by lesser things, then is not subject to the weakness of change. This means the moral entity we call God is truth itself. The Bible further supports this. Written in John 14:6, it says, Jesus answered him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And further in Hebrews 3:18, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever, both from the Good News Bible, indicating his nature is the unchanging God. Some people say image is everything. Some say perception is reality. To this thinking I say image is only perception, and perception is actually only a perception of reality, not reality itself. If we make the mistake of thinking our impression of things is actual reality, we claim our perception is perfect. I have a friend who is of Aboriginal descent, and he has lost the sounder way of thinking. His adage, "If I never expect anything good, I will never be disappointed." Sad, really. If he could get out of his small life, foot in front of him approach, and get into the greater life God has intended, he would see things radically different. Our tiny little one life, single moment point of view cannot truly trump the grand scheme of things just because we want our own little immediate perspective to be served. None of us see perfectly or has perfect insight. The Bible admits this freely. In 1 Corinthians 13:12 it says, "For the present we see things as if in a darkened mirror, and are puzzled. But then we shall see them face to face. For the present knowledge I gain is imperfect, but then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known." This is in the Weymouth New Testament. This refers to the ultimate perspective and accountability to respond in healthy ways to life, which we all carry. The fact is, the Bible acknowledges our desire to be self-sufficient as a failing and something which is not of our making, but also admits we do compound its failings so. Traditionally, Indigenous cultures deal with those who do not have the public good in mind by turning their backs on them. This is not done with a calloused heart, but with the view of redemption. When a person is left alone, they are vulnerable to attacks of imagination, the elements, and very real predators. A position many have experienced today with the sense of isolation during COVID. However, most individuals would eventually turn back to the community, making restitution for the negative effect they had on others. This would help restore the offender to a sense of equilibrium and a more healthy social understanding going forward. The community would gain a constructive, less self-absorbed member, win-win. As I have given my life to the control of Almighty God, I have emptied myself of any quality I may have considered as having any real value, except those which He conveys to it, and then through it, to society around. I believe in the value of your life and its eternal place in the long view of things. We here at the Standard are particularly sensitive to the atrocities unleashed against the 215 Tekemloops Tesekwepem Nation's children, whose lives were so dramatically disrespected and integrity violated in Kamloops, BC. I come from a family of the Kanyen'kehá:ka Mohawk peoples, yet I am sure I can safely say all peoples everywhere of every nation regret this disrespect of these lives and desire these kinds of actions never occur again against any person of dignity. This includes every person of every people. Let's look beyond the actions of this twisted, self-absorbed, seemingly non-human time in our history, and do not give it any more power by nursing its harmful spirit's effects. I pray to the Creator for all peoples to consider the implications of any actions one contemplates and allow that to arrest within themselves any action which would harm another. This is the nature of the Great Peace and of the Creator Himself, who came and died to free us all from the power of resentment and retaliation to take our hearts. God richly bless your cup. Remember, when it's completely empty, it is still completely full. We do need air as well. Perspective.
Believe it or not, it is possible to let go of things you just don't need. Tina Y. Gerber, special to the Standard. I have often said I am looking forward to my retirement, which is just around the corner. Martin and I have been completing home renovations, hoping to make life easier, safer, and more convenient after retirement. We have been downsizing, deciding on what stays and what goes. We are hoarders. We both have tendencies to hang on to things we no longer need or require. That is the definition of a hoarder. My husband is a handyman, so he keeps things he may need for completing projects and hobbies, while I love books, magazines, and keeping stuff for my crafts. A friend told me about the 10-day challenge. It involves gathering 10 items for 10 days to recycle, donate, sell, or trash. It is a great way to declutter. Hoarding often starts out as harmless clutter around the house. This made me think about the many seniors I have visited when I worked as a personal support worker in the community. I have many fond memories from this, but I also have a few horror stories resulting from visiting patients and clients over the last 21 years. One gentleman, in particular, had been collecting newspapers and tins after the death of his wife, before recycling was the fashion. He did not know how to cook, but could open tins of soup and beans. His home was overrun with stuff and cats. I won't even mention the many rodents or odor. He literally had made a path from his front door to his back door through stacks of newspapers and magazines. Things can get very out of control if not addressed. Hoarding is a common problem, not only among seniors, but among many individuals of any age. Hoarding can escalate as we grow older, but hoarding is especially dangerous for seniors. Many families and caregivers have to deal with elderly parents who are suffering from this debilitating mental condition. Seniors are more likely to fall in a crowded home, and emergency workers may not be able to reach them. Hoarding does affect a person's health. Living in unsanitary and hazardous conditions can be a serious sign of Alzheimer's or dementia, where an individual could need professional help. So, Martin and I started reorganizing and rethinking what we should keep. I thought my keepsakes or my special memories would matter to my children, but they don't. A friend once told me, "They're your memories, not theirs." To be realistic, they are my personal likes, not theirs, and are precious to me, not them. Those few words made the difference in my perception of my so-called valuables or treasures. The world is very different from what it was when I was growing up. People don't value the same types of things as we did. I don't want my daughters or husband to sort through my memories after my death. I will continue to minimize my belongings, as I think they will have enough emotional distress to deal with. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Matthew 6:19-20.
The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio for the Standard newspaper.